What's happening, everybody? Good to be back. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to Making Pax Stereo TV, the show where we actually take you behind the scenes. And let me turn this monitor down, because sometimes when we're meeting, we're actually paying attention to current events, and that's one of the examples. But just so for those of you who don't know, Making Pax Stereo is a show that started out of a request from some of our friends who really wanted to see some of the behind-the-scene elements, which I actually thought was too boring. They said it's the perspective of seeing what you and Victor have to deal with.
Right.
That makes it interesting.
Right.
As we attempt to run whatever this thing is we call internet television, with whatever this thing is that we call our 24-hour broadcast machine that is broadcasting, streaming to you,
right,
24/7, and has been now for how many years, Vic? Over 4 years? At least 4 years, we know.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody to Making Pax Stereo. Wow, it's good to be back, Vic. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on, so we hadn't had a chance to just even before the show. We mentioned a few things. We try to hold off for the show, but everybody should know that the biggest thing around here is progress, because we have been expanding, getting new opportunities, expanding our own programming, and every individual seems to be coming into some kind of an expanse of whatever they're doing.
Right.
Enough that it even becomes more important to update each other. For example, Vic is going out more and more on his own.
Have to, man.
Covering events, going out in L.A. on behalf of the LZ, other stuff that we do, going out. You just came back with stuff from the L.A.
The Taste of Soul?
Taste of Soul.
Yeah.
And so that stuff is going up right now, by the way. The pictures are going up right now. The animated slideshow is in preparation right now.
Right.
So that's the latest one. So Vic has been going out doing more and more, covering more of the local events. You're seeing more of that local event programming.
Right.
And also more of the social media, the combination of Meerkat and Periscope, as we've added those to our already platforms of streaming live on Ustream, both mobile and high quality, live on Livestream, mobile and high quality.
Right.
Simulcasting, internet radio, shoutcast, and simulcasting many of the shows, Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah. Definitely.
So multi-platform, we're dealing with all that. Vic is going out getting more shows. So Vic, just for that, give me just, I guess, the basic update of that, that whole experience.
Well, number one is when they make the personal devices personal, then they want you to use it personal. So as opposed to the LZ and what most people may be used to when I go out and I may get legacy artists or record a live concert, now it's really me saying, don't try to act like a videographer. Just go out there and enjoy from your point of view. And so the Taste of Soul having, in Los Angeles, it occurred yesterday, and thousands and thousands of people, maybe well over 200,000 people easy. The whole idea was to go there and say, okay, here's all the artists that's going to be there, and here's all the booths, the food, and everything else, all these sponsorships. Well, what are you going to do? So the first thing I decided to do is say, first, turn on my personal device, no matter where I'm at, to show what it is that I'm interested in at the time. And for me, it was focusing in on a group called Mint Condition. Angie Stone is there, some others are there, but I want to catch Mint Condition. At the same time, enjoy taking what I call here, while I'm meerkatting, I want to turn it on to photos of what they just call people who are gesturing a look, no matter who it is. So I may catch celebrities, whether it's Lisa Ray or Don Lewis, or if I get Kevin Nash from the radio station. Those things are part and parcel of it. But really it was me saying, out of everything that I've done, is to say, we're about to look at the stage. Long view, you may not be able to hear the music that great, but that's what I'm going through. And then turn that over and take you through the crowd. And that, to me, was, this is what you're seeing, what I'm seeing. And to me, that's more of a personal thing than trying to make it a commercial thing. So part of the LZ and where it's going is an effort to not only, I'm not going to even use the word transparent, but to say not only here's a personal moment that's more reflective of me being involved, as well as including live performances that people want to see because it was an event. And so
Well,
the LZ is transforming a little bit.
which is what we had talked about, you guys, is that Vic would go out and shoot events around LA. Okay, let's imagine this. I mean, think of like a producer for a minute, everybody. So he goes out and we shoot stuff around LA, and you post that on YouTube. But people don't look at it the same.
No.
Even with they judge it by whatever the event is, whether it's a taste of soul.
Right.
So what makes people identify for a little more? The personal element.
Right.
See, it actually we realized it became more important to showcase that it was Vic's experience at the place,
Right.
other than just the place.
Right.
Because then when you go look at it, people weren't just going to go look at things like the event,
Right.
event in the park.
Right.
They just didn't care.
Right.
But if you said Vic goes to the such and such at the park,
Yeah.
now they cared.
Yeah.
Because they wanted the personal experience of someone we think, this is what we think,
Right.
of someone they can relate to.
Yes.
So now we had talked about how could we do this with the LZ. We had talked about repackaging a bunch of the shows with narration and other things. Mm-hmm. But at least on an immediate level, right,
Right.
it allows us, no matter what you cover on the LZ, when you post that Meerkat
It'll-
or Periscope,
totally
it adds
different.
the other elements
Element.
that we talked about.
Right.
And the thing we're working it out is how to package it.
Right.
Because what I'm practicing right now, if you guys look at recent event pages, on the event pages at the website. See, this is where you got to think like a producer. We're trying stuff. We're not saying this,
Right.
just hitting home runs or anything. I'm saying, but now when we put up like an event, like we put up a page at the website to cover an event like a Taste of Soul, we'll include on that same page embeds from the Meerkat
Right.
or Periscopes of our people, different people.
And we'll probably start incorporating the Animotos since they're going to be a product feature of that as well.
They're on the pages
Page
too.
so-
The Animotos, by that we
Yeah.
mean that's the name for one of the software we use to do some of our animated slideshow.
Right.
And so the animated slideshows look good enough that we've been adding them to the pages
right.
also, because the idea is to give a different feel for an event. So the
Right.
event occurs, and this is what that event is like.
That's right. And it's morphed over to now where people are seeing videos to endorse. And not saying that it's not going to come that way, but YouTube is really, it's kind of drag and drop. And then you wait for comments. Where now you have a video stream that you actually could take snapshots of that while you're shooting. People can see they restream, they do this. So you're actively seeing it through at your device, what they feel. And that's totally different than going into post-production, upload, wait for comments,
It is totally different. We have to say, we've been saying this, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody be clear on this one. The Meerkat Periscope experience has been one of the most wonderful augmentations that we have done. In other words, from the minute we started playing with it, it added immediately to our exposure. By
Right.
that, we gain audiences. Sometimes it can range anywhere from a couple hundred
Right.
to almost 16 or 1700 people
Right.
combined between
right.
us when we do things. And that was immediate. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you know how fast it takes you to get viewers on other things.
Right.
By going live and putting the right listing, we're getting the metadata. Remember, that's the title and the description of things is important. And also maybe the photo too, but just knowing that gets you more immediate viewers. So if anybody wonders why we keep talking about Meerkat and Periscope, it's because it's bringing new viewers. Hundreds.
Yep.
Am I being clear enough? Hundreds of new viewers.
Yep.
And if even on a show where we're not trying hard, if Vic gets a couple hundred and I get a couple hundred and Miko gets 700, I mean, that's still over 1,000 people,
Right.
not even counting your regular outlets. See
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
Right.
That experience and the fact that the immediate gratification, again, two-way communication, because you get to see their responses. And remember, to us here at Pax Stereo, we have already said that the definition that we use of internet television involves a two-way communication. That's what makes it the revolutionary thing that it is today, that in most of our live shows that we do, we have an established methodology of two-way communication with our viewers, where we can respond and look at things in a more immediate way. Remember, on the networks, they have layers of people between those viewers and them. And here it's just Vic and I with the viewers in the chat room, in the Meerkat, and we have to make those immediate responses as to who we're going to communicate with and why and what's going to be said. Way more organic, way more immediate, a whole different level of integrity in the sense of what we represent and what we stand by. So that's one of the biggest things. That we continue to go. I have 2 phones here. And during the broadcast, I do a Pax Stereo Periscope, and I also do a Mario Hemsley Meerkat. Now, here's the problem. The problem is that the Mario Hemsley Meerkat is way more popular than the Pax Stereo Periscope. Because now my impression has to do with how personal people view a company stream versus a personal stream. That's my impression. But we will see.
Mm-hmm.
We will see.
Yeah.
Because I'm running both of them and talking to both of them. And they're not doing the same. One is the Pax Stereo Periscope, and the other one is the Mario Hemsley Meerkat, which is doing multiples of the Pax Stereo. Okay, and so Vic, we are doing, like, for example, you're doing yours mostly as who? Victor Allen, right?
Yeah, I can't. It's just nowhere to take a device
yeah.
that's made for a personal nature and then try to transform it over to a business name, or because people they just want to, they don't want to necessarily see you in your same mode. They want to see how you're doing from the beginning to the evolution of what you're doing, no matter what that is. I know if I just went and took my device and said, just point it, look at who's singing, and that's it. That wouldn't.
No.
That
So
wouldn't
it's
do it.
how we do the storytelling.
Yeah.
So for you too out there, broadcasters, because no matter what, see what happens, a lot of you think you don't have to do this. And that's where you're wrong. You do have to do it. You have to at least do it for your own shit. You have to at least do videos to explain who you are and what you do. And if you have a project, then you have to explain the project. And if the project has ongoing pieces like updates or episodes, then you have to do it for those too. So the reality is, if you're selling anything today, short form video, these types of videos are the way, and then supporting it with social media is a must. So, okay, just letting you know, we're dealing with that. Miko's expanding opportunities. Everybody's got expanding opportunities. Vic, could you just, because we already talked a little bit about this. So
Right.
This one I'm recapping for you guys. Everybody's getting new opportunities. We like to give you the update on the inside, how we see it, because we're loving it. And one of the things that we're loving is how our girl, Miko, is out there meeting folks all the time. And it's bringing stuff home here to Pax Stereo. Let me let Vic, to whatever degree you want to explain.
Well, it's very different. I made a promise to Miko because a lot of times, because this is in confidence, I told her, I said, from now on, when there's something to share, really specifics, you can come in. Because people do watch us, and then sometimes they want things in the can. But I can tell you that Miko's on a journey that I've always believed was required, that the introduction to people who are not necessarily in your lane is necessary for you, because they may need what you have just as much you need as what they have. So I can tell you, in the industry of entertainment, whether it's meeting with people in casting directors or producers, or if it's in short film or what have you, those things are happening because it's a necessary thing to do. They're watching the work that she's doing. They understand that is raw. They do understand that it's grassroots, but it's continuous and it's consistent. And everybody says in this business, you have to be consistent. You have to continue. Don't worry about the perfection. Perfection is subjective. And then when people see that you actually are embracing this form that becomes natural, her natural form is social media. She was built for social media. If anything, that is the thing that is getting her. She's not manufacturing stuff where she's faking it. So if she trips over her feet, they enjoy her tripping over her feet because she's sincere about it and she's genuine. So she is running and meeting people because it's necessary in this business. You can't stay in one place. And so by her going out, every time she goes out, she meets new relationships. And I told her, I said, yeah, people are going to think that, hey, you're not around as much to do as much production. I said, yes, you are. You're doing a different type of production. You're meeting people is production because it's being effective. So I told her, I said, from now on, when you want to tell stories about who it is, because they like things in confidence.
See, that's what the Nico Williams show could have been.
Yeah, she still would have to.
We talked about that.
Yeah, she still would have to go, I have to get approved because.
Right. Some of it is people's privacy.
Right, it is. They don't want to let anything out that may be under development.
We're not TMZ. We're not into artist exposure.
Right.
We're not shock radio and shock television. So we're trying to build bridges with artists. So I'm really upfront with the fact that I tell them, whatever you don't want me to talk about, I'm just not going to talk about.
Right.
I'm not here. It's not my job to be investigative reporting.
Right.
So I don't make any claim to try to be digging out the dirt or anything like that.
Yeah.
More or less, I'm more prized that you're comfortable being here.
Right.
And that you view it as some type of a sanctuary. Or at least where you can present your side through the whole thing for the most part.
Right.
So again, that's why we're treading lightly. We want to be sure who we can talk to you about.
Right, because it's always ongoing.
What they want to, because we're not going to expose stuff
that
they don't want exposed. That we're not here for that. And again, that's not who we are.
True.
All right, so Vic, but I got to ask you, because I made a note to ask you this. So how was it being back, behind the scenes at A Taste of Soul and shooting the videos? How was the whole reception toward Pax Stereo? How was the experience of being out there again, since it's been like a little minute?
Yeah, as it relates to that, usually I'm at Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza because that's a pipeline for most of the artists.
Right.
And Taste of Soul is because of its popularity and because they're growing. It's a little different because, for me personally, I went away from, I have to be in the position of a videographer. And I've always said that I'm not a videographer. So when you approach it that way, you're supposed to be able to go and position yourself this way. I can say for myself, I got more enjoyment out of what I was doing from the personal app point of view, because it's more difficult now to go out there and say, let me shoot what I think is of value. I mean, if you have back-to-back artists performing, who's to say which one is of value? And you're spending most of your time, you're spending a lot of your time trying to calculate a value. And what I enjoy more than anything else, this is just totally different. If I didn't get anything, the personal app streaming is as valuable. It will not.
Meerkat, you're talking about, once again, your use of Meerkat.
I'm saying yes.
Backstage or whatever.
Whatever I'm doing, I don't have to go this side, this room makes a difference. What it is what I'm doing.
Right.
So the part that I like about that, because of artists now and because of the uploads of videos, you really don't know if it's going to all be cool. So my whole thing is, and I'm going to say this because it's true, if a lot of tracks are being played on stage, you do know uploads will probably get what they call the warning of, hey, just to let you know this is the owner's stuff, and they'll just let you know, and sometimes they won't say a thing because you don't know the adoptive practice. So the part that I took away from this is that I said, if I don't get anything, because we're trying to support the artists because it's a community thing, then I'm still going to get something. So I go out now different than before. It used to be just videotaping, that's it. I'm photo, personal streaming app, and shooting. So I'm doing three things that I never used to do. I used to do just one-dimensional. That to me is now going, if I don't get anybody, it won't make any difference anymore. There's still a branding act that's taking place that we get to flourish with it. And the best part of it is the Meerkat or Periscope was way more valuable than what I could get because we have Metro Rail development, which moved everybody on one side of the street, which just killed what they call the spacing of where you can go. So,
because all that metro construction got in the way of a taste of soul.
People had to go into what they call the shopping centers to get in that area way in there, and that's the problem.
Forgot about that. We had a lot of construction here right in the area. Yes. You guys may have seen it from the shuttle transport.
Yeah.
Right where they turn the shuttle.
Yes.
That's right here.
Right.
in our neighborhood. We're
Yeah.
right here, Crenshaw area, Lamert Park,
Yeah.
View Park. So it's right there.
Yeah.
And so when Vic went down, he had to deal with the construction that's ongoing of our Metro Link.
Yeah, I
That's
could not
coming
shoot
to the area.
I tell you this:
Wow.
the value of shooting this right now may be. I wouldn't want to. I'm gonna be honest with this. If I caught 3 or 4 or 5 songs, I wouldn't want to see all those songs from the
Who was
vantage
it?
point.
And who was it
It was
again?
mint condition.
Mint condition.
Right. I wouldn't want to see it because I was showing it from the side of a stage where you really couldn't see their faces as much. You got to see them from the
Couldn't
side.
get good
angle.
position.
Yeah, so it's not the part of that to me was okay. That was the best available. That's the way it is. And unless
Sure.
you're people getting down there hours before, you can't get a better seat. I mean, everybody needs to be respected, and I respect people's placement than to be trying to maneuver myself in there. And to me, what I forgot about was the construction. I said, oh my God, that whole side of the street where crowds of people can be, it's gone. So everybody's like on this left side, and it's all, I'm going, wow, I forgot. So I did the best I could from what I gathered. But the personal streaming made me feel more comfortable.
There you go.
Because they could just see where I was in the first place.
Take home messages, once
Yeah.
again, Meerkat or Periscope, and us, Victor, telling the story and using those particular apps and the phone
Right.
to do that. All right. Ongoing issues coming up is programming that is things that have started that have yet to be really got into. In other words, we have stuff for the drones, we have costumes and things to try out. So a bunch of things around here to get to for programming. Even though I can tell you, Vic, based on the other scheduling things I taught you about, as I start to put forward the scheduling, which that would allow me to have more time too. So the thing still has to do with how we're going to approach the upcoming. I must admit, the current way that we're approaching the morning coffee with Mario's show seems to be, well, for me, we'll see how Vic feels about his part. But for me, it's successful, the adjustment, because it is less work. I do less prepping for the show, but it seems like the interesting qualities of the show have been maintained nonetheless. I'm actually fairly amazed. Even though I admit part of it has to do with just the way we're approaching it. The fact that Vic is bringing up, certain items to discuss or debate, whatever, as part of the morning show. It does seem like we have at least been able to maintain how interesting the show is.
Yeah.
And even though mostly we're still over an hour, but under an hour and a half.
Right.
And so right now we're moving toward those things, but just interesting enough. That's all I could say. Because it still has to be, in my view, a success. Because the quality of the show, with the less pre-production, same amount of posts, getting it done nice and easy. So a bunch of those things do seem to be working.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, with my end, I think the part that's only affected is the publication, the integration of the publication. Because I still have to do the same amount of work for my Hot Picks and New Sports, because it still requires me to go out and still have to do the same approach with it. But transitioning into the display, live display of the website integration for the show has been easier on me as it relates to importing. So yes, way better for
when
me
you
on that.
when you lay out, you mean, so what you're
When I'm
saying,
doing the layout.
you do your layout for your visual aid.
Yes, that's
easier.
That's easier. Yeah, because I still have to do the same. I still have to watch the stuff. I still got to go search the stuff. I still want to get the quality of the displays in there. So I'm gonna still be doing that, but that's part of it because I enjoy the sports. And of course, if you sit back and say, hey, all you got to do is find some very attractive women who are professional, entrepreneurial, and also very successful, that's a motivation in itself. So for the most part, those stays as standards right now. And to me, it's something that I should sit there and say, hey, look, if I could pull this off and continue this, the consistency is more important to me. So the display is clearly way better. I mean, it cuts off.
You're talking once again about the website for everybody.
It cuts off this extra work I had to do with
the
what
website pages that you're making.
Yes, I had to do a lot of get here
for
early.
New Sports or Hot Picks.
Yes, both.
Because what happens is we're basically doing in the cloud publishing. So really, Victor, when he lays out his documents for the show, he just does it right in the cloud, right into the site, and then I make any adjustments there at the site. So the whole in the cloud thing is nothing new, really. We've been doing stuff in the cloud for a long time, over a decade.
Right.
So this is the way we're adjusting to get our visual aids done before the shows. Many of you will be doing shows, and what I suggested that people do is do their visual aids for their shows as part of a website, where they can edit it up there at the website. That way it can be left over after the show as part of the information on the episodes and those kinds of things. It becomes multifunctional. So for all of our shows, we do our on-air photos, all of that stuff, our visual aids on the website, and then we use a bunch of that as we publish the pages after the show that have the embeds where you can watch the show again. Trying to combine that work. See, that's why we do it. For us, that's been very successful because now we're about to integrate more the broadcast. In other words, the things that we're putting at the site, making sure they're integrated at the broadcast machine. So again, those are the things that's coming up. So Vic, that's the stuff that as we get through the holidays, even though I must admit, I tend to be inclined to continue the morning coffee in its current form, with every other week being off on the Monday because I have to attend therapy with a friend who's getting some chemotherapy.
Right.
I'm tending to say to continue that because I can fine-tune the workload even to a shorter show, those kinds of things.
Right.
But in general, the move in that direction has made its point, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
We can do less and still have it be good.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
All right, so that's now again for this week. The quick announcements is that so our morning show tomorrow is going to be canceled because I have to go to chemotherapy with my friend. But we'll have our regular programming this week, and we'll put all that in this week at Pax Stereo. And so for us, for right now, no other the upcoming shows, Vic.
Nothing worthwhile of putting it on the table because you still need a solid date and a solid subject title. Right now, I'm dealing with people who want to possibly do Pax Stereo Live projects. That's the only thing that I've really been focusing on. So when that comes around, we probably may have some news next week, but not this week.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Making Pax Stereo, the show that's the weekly meeting. Sometimes we don't do it because we were watching football or doing other stuff. But it's the show that's the weekly meeting of Vic and I, by request. Thank you for tuning in to Making Pax Stereo. Peace.